On today's episode, we talk penalties and day 2 of the Spartan Games with Spartan VP of Production, Mike Morris. Welcome to the OCR Report podcast, brought to you by the OCRReport.com. We are the only podcast to focus exclusively on the elite sport of obstacle course racing, from Spartan to Tough Mudder, to the OCR World Championships, and wherever the elites are racing, we are there. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the OCR Report. Welcome back to the OCR Report podcast. Thank you for listening. You are too kind. My name is Will Hicks. You can email me at will@theocrreport.com. You can follow us on social media by searching for the OCR Report. And you can buy your OCR Report swag for Christmas at theocrreport.threadless.com. If you want more OCR content, check out our other shows. Check out OCR Talk. Check out OCR Coven, Obstacle Running Adventures, Overcome and Run, and World's Toughest Podcast. If you would like to get in touch with me directly, shoot me a text. 619-485-2726. I have a growing little community there, and they are giving me ideas for guests, and I am giving them early access to episodes, and they are submitting questions for guests. Very excited about our insider text group. Just send me a text, 619-485-2726. Say early access, and I will hook you up. On today's show, we are talking day 2 of the Spartan Games with Mike Morris. Mike is the Spartan Vice President of Production and the event director for the Spartan Games. You saw him in episode 2 making the decision on the penalties for Hunter McIntyre's chest slap and Aaron Newell's bucket throw at Hunter's back. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But before we talk with Mike Morris, let's talk some news. Actually, before news, if you haven't watched episode 2 of the Spartan Games, you should pause this right now and go watch it. And then come back. I'll wait for you. We already did that joke once. You can't do jokes over and over. That's the thing about jokes. You can only tell a joke once. If you repeat it more than once, then it's just not funny. Christopher Mendoza. Also, before news, don't forget about the official rules for spoilers. 2 weeks for movies, 2 days for TV, 2 seconds for live events. Spartan Games falls under TV. New episodes air on Wednesday. So don't talk about specifics of the race until Friday. Why do you have to wait? Because you are kind. I'm not asking you to be nice. Nobody wants to be nice. Nobody likes a nice guy. I'm asking you to be kind. When you're at school, remember when you were a kid and the bad boy was cool? Like, I don't care. Ugh. But as you get older, it is the kind person you appreciate more. Ryan Atkins and Lindsay Webster, they have almost as much respect in the OCR community for the type of people they are as their athletic accomplishments, which are many. So this week and future weeks, not posting spoilers, it's kind of like wearing a mask right now. It's not for you. It's a kindness for the people around you. Now, let's talk some news. Last chance. Turn away if you have not seen day 2 of the Spartan Games. On day 2 of the Spartan Games, athletes competed in 2 events. Deka Strong, a 10-zone functional fitness competition, and Ruta Mountain Biking, a 5-hour race on a 9-mile looped course described as rolling, non-technical terrain. In Deka Strong, for the women, Sam Briggs finished first, Corinna Coffin finished second, and Faith Cook finished third. Notable OCR finishes included Lindsay Webster in 8th, Rhea Coble in 10th, and Nicole Miracle in 11th. In Deka Strong for the men, Hunter McIntyre finished in 1st, his 2nd win in a row. Herman Dimick finished 2nd, and Ryan Kent finished 3rd. Other OCR athlete finishes include Ryan Atkins in 4th and Aaron Newell in 6th. In the mountain biking for the women, Lindsay Webster finished in 1st, her 2nd win of the competition. Rhea Coble finished in 2nd, and Chelsea Magnus finished in 3rd. This is the first podium finish for both Rhea and Chelsea. Other OCR athlete finishes included Corinna Coffin in 4th and Nicole Miracle in 8th. In the mountain biking for the men, Ryan Atkins finished in 1st, his 2nd win of the games. Josiah Middow finished in 2nd, and Aaron Newell in 3rd. At the end of day 2, halfway through the Spartan Games, here are your Spartan Games standings. For the men, in 1st, Ryan Atkins with 78 points. In 2nd, Hunter McIntyre in 2nd with 72 points. In 3rd, Herman Dimick in 3rd with 58 points. 59 points. In 4th, Ryan Kent with 59 points. In 5th, Josiah Middow with 53 points. In 6th, Aaron Newell with 45 points. In 7th, Grant McCartney with 43 points. In 8th, Max Fennell with 28 points. In 9th, Jared Shoemaker with 25 points. In 10th, Kurt Majit with 20 points. In 11th, Matt Stevens with 17 points. And in 12th, Mike Wardian with 6 points. And your standings for the women at the halfway point of the Spartan Games. In 1st place, Corinna Coffin with 72 points. In 2nd, Lindsay Webster with 70 points. In 3rd, Lauren Weeks with 60 points. In 4th, Sam Briggs with 55 points. In 5th, Faith Cook with 50 points. In 6th, Christy O'Connell with 46 points. In 7th, Rhea Coble with 37 points. In 8th, Emma Chapman with 33 points. In 9th, Nicole Miracle with 27 points. In 10th, Samantha Wood with 24 points. In 11th, Chelsea Magnus with 17 points. And in 12th, Kellen Taylor with 14 points. So Hunter won Deka Strong, and Atkins won mountain biking. So halfway through the Spartan Games, we're halfway through. There's 10 events. We've done 5. Halfway through the games, Atkins is in 1st with 78 points, and Hunter is in 2nd with 72 points. We haven't talked about the penalties yet. These point totals are post-penalty. We talk about the penalties in depth with Mike Morris in a few minutes. So Atkins has 78. Hunter has 72. Hunter is in 2nd. He has 13 points more than 3rd place. Herman Dimick in 3rd. There have been 5 events so far. Hunter has won 2. Atkins has won 2. And the swim was won by Jared Shoemaker, who is currently in 9th place. So for the men, things could change, but it looks like the top 2 men, in some order, will be Hunter and Atkins. For the women, after 2 days, again, halfway through, 5 events done, 5 events to come, Corinna Coffin is in 1st place for the women with 72 points. Lindsay is in 2nd, right behind her with 70. 3rd place is Lauren Weeks with 60. She's 10 points back of Lindsay Webster. Lindsay has won 2 events. She won the Spartan Cross and the mountain biking. Other than the points, it doesn't matter how many events you win, right? You could win 0 events and win the whole thing as long as you have high point totals. But this is interesting. Lindsay's won 2 events. In 2nd place, Corinna Coffin. She has not won any events yet, but she has placed 2nd or 4th at every single individual competition. She has not had Corinna has had a strong performance. It's not that she hasn't had a weak one. She's had a strong performance in every single event. Here's what I think. Much like Hunter and Atkins, in some order, Corinna and Lindsay will be our top 2 ladies. So what do you think? I just told you who I think. There's your top 4. Hunter, Atkins, Corinna, Lindsay. Shoot me a text. Let me know who you think will win. We're halfway through the event. You have enough information to make an intelligent guess. I'm not asking you to wager money. I am asking you to call your shot. There's nothing more annoying on the internet than someone who says, "Oh yeah, I called this months ago." You're so smart. Thank you for telling us how smart you are. If you want to call your shot, tell me who you think wins. If you think Hunter wins, text the Hunter line. I have special phone lines set up for the top 4 athletes and then a 5th phone number for the field. If you think it's someone other than these top 4 that I think it's going to be. If you think Hunter's going to win, text the Hunter line at 619-48-52-726. If you think Atkins is going to win, if you think Atkins will pull it out, text the Atkins line. The Atkins line is 619, the number 4, 85-27-26. If you think Corinna will win, send a text to the Corinna number at 61-94-85 2002-6er. I need to pause here. That is not Corinna Coffin's cell phone number, so don't. I'm not a bunch of weirdos. If you think Lindsay will win, here is the number: 619-485 2726. If you think it will be someone else, male or female, send a text to the regular number, 619-485-2726. Let's read some iTunes reviews.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars. 5 stars.
No reviews for our show this week. So let's read some YouTube comments from the Spartan Games. That's a great idea. Sarah Burns writes, I'm watching this at 10 p.m., drinking a Dr. Pepper. I've never been so ashamed of myself. Alex G writes, I'm pretty excited that Lauren Weeks is doing so well. She's such a phenomenal athlete, hardworking and humble. I'm rooting for her and Webster. Get it, ladies. Omar Amat writes, hope they check on the guy who got slapped. He may have internal bleeding or something from that brutal slap. JSH writes, everything is killer. Need some more focus on Ryan Kent. Thank you for those comments, JSH, Omar, Alex, and Sarah. People say YouTube comments are terrible, but here's the thing. They are. I pulled out the good ones for you. JSH talked about Ryan Kent. Need some more focus on Ryan Kent. Ryan got a little bit of love in episode 2 after the mountain biking. He was close to tears, maybe in tears, talking about how scared he was doing the mountain biking. He was legitimately scared. And he was proud of himself for, working through it and getting through that. And I have a private, Facebook. Anyway, Carlo Piscatello, he messaged me. He's like, you know what? The more I learn about Ryan Kent, the more I like him. And I agree with that. He seems like a quality guy. I haven't had him on the show yet, but I think I will. I think I'll reach out to him. I've been impressed with everything. He was on The Selection, a reality show a couple years ago. And anyway, just been nothing but impressed with. I don't know. I don't think Ryan Kent's going to win the whole thing, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean he's not a quality guy. And I agree with Carlo and with JSH. Ryan Kent is doing well. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Also, click the purple podcast button on your iPhone or iOS device. Search for the OCR report. Click our logo, then scroll down to click write a review. I will read it on a future episode. If you're not an Apple fan, you can go to lovethepodcast.com/OCR. Thanks. We're down to the wire. But if you want to buy an OCR Report t-shirt for someone you love for Christmas or for someone you hate, you should do it now. The OCRreport.threadless.com. It's time to talk about day 2 of the Spartan Games with Mike Morris. Let's go to the phones. Mike Morris is the Vice President of Production at Spartan and the event director for the Spartan Games, now streaming on YouTube. Mike Morris, welcome back.
Hello, hello.
Mike, this week's episode started with a cold open, immediately addressing the most controversial part of episode 1. A quick recap. During the bucket carry in the Spartan Cross on day 1, Hunter McIntyre slapped Aaron Newell. Aaron responded by throwing his bucket at Hunter's back. It's all on video. The first episode ended with penalties yet to be assessed. Those penalties were: Hunter got a 5-minute penalty, costing him 3 points, dropping him from first to second place. Aaron received a 10-minute penalty, costing him 4 points and dropping him from 6th to 8th place overall. Tell me about that penalty process.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it got conveyed. By the way, good analysis there. Much better than if you'd asked me, because I wouldn't be able to tell you about the points there. But the that event was in the morning. That was an early morning event, 8:00, call it. And so we spent. We want to be very deliberate and take our time with penalties. Like, it's a big deal. So we weren't going to come right back at the team at Hunter and Aaron and say this is what the penalty was. And prior to the games, we made a decision that anytime there was an infraction, something like that, we collectively as a group decide on what the penalty was. And that group was David Watson, myself, as well as 2 gentlemen on site, Gary and Nate. And so David's 12 hours ahead, lives in Singapore. So we wait for him to wake up. And then between that and literally a crazy first day with the swim, the cross, and the Highland Games, there just wasn't much time at all. Like, I was running in between in the car where I did have reception, trying to talk to David, and then watching the video. And so by the time we came to conclusion, it was later on that night. So anyways, it wasn't, I think there was another, someone had accused us of waiting to get hold of Joe and trying to penalize Aaron because he said something Friday night. Like, that's all wrong. Like, Joe didn't even know what was going on. We texted him at the end of the day, said, hey, by the way, we're about to penalize some folks. He's like, okay. Joe doesn't get involved with stuff like that. So anyways, it was a thoughtful process, and that's the conclusion we came to. There's a lot of stuff on the table. There's full DQs for the event, for both. But we wanted to, in the spirit of doing what we thought was reasonable and fair, that's what we came up with.
When the time penalty was translated to points, there was only a difference of 1 point actually assessed. Was there any thought to penalizing them straight points instead of time?
I can't think back to the actual conversation. There's a lot of ideas on the table, but it's interesting. No, I don't think we specifically say, what if we did points? Because this wasn't like the penalty was directly tied to that event, right? So we're trying to go back to as much as possible our existing rule set for OCR and try to go back to just the different penalties, the rules we have written there. And in doing so, that's all time based. There's nothing related to points. So I think we defaulted back to the standard of time. But it's a great idea for next time.
I don't want to be part of the story. I'm just asking the question. Okay, so a discussion I've had with some people about this is, what if this had happened at a regular Spartan race? Same scenario. Someone slaps a guy, the other guy throws a bucket at his back. Is there anything in the official rule book to refer back to for that?
Yeah, and that's exactly what we did refer back to. There's I can't recall the section, but there's general terminology. Like, I think to step back, because some things to point out. One, you can't capture every single situation rule book, right? You can't be like, if there's if there's a slap in a retaliation with a bucket, like, how would you penalize? But there's general terminology we use, general language around sportsmanship and impeding forward progress and things like that. And that's how we try to refer back to it. There's precedents in place, everything from the Woodsy situation with touching the truss back in Jacksonville, I think it was a while ago, to previous infractions. So try to draw on that and what we thought was reasonable given the scope of a new product as well, right? This isn't a beast, right? This is the Spartan Cross. And I think it's also worth pointing out that one of the fundamental biggest challenges we have in our sport, and I think any endurance event, is like, how do you capture and proof of these infractions? And we hear it all the time. Someone comes back from a run, like, so-and-so cut the course here, and maybe they cut 10 feet, right? Or they did this. I'm like, well, look, I can't go off your word. You're a racer. Like, this general rule we have. But, if we had an official there, it'd be a different story. Or if we had the camera, and lucky enough, fortunate enough in Spartan Games, inherent in what we're doing there was an official and cameras that caught it all. So we were able to actually see exactly what happened to make a conclusive decision on penalties.
It didn't look like Hunter or Aaron were happy with the decision. How close, if at all, were either of them to quitting the event over this?
There's definitely a range of emotions, kind of up and down, up and down. There's even just like admitting, denying. Once we agreed upon the fact that they did it, they admitted to it. I think they're both, when I talked to them each individually, they're worried about like one person getting penalized, not the other person not getting penalized. Like they felt like they were the one that was going to get penalized. Like when I went and talked to Aaron, am I the only one getting penalized for this? Or if I went and talked to Hunter, it's like, am I the one getting penalized for this? Like he threw a bucket at me. And I didn't want to like lead the discussion to be like, no, we're thinking about both of you guys. It was like, look, I'm here to collect your side of the story. Tell me what's going on. We're going to go back as a group and we're going to talk about this. But yeah, when we pulled them aside, they didn't want to have cameras on them because they didn't know what the outcome was. Said, here's the deal. And I think they said if they're being DQ'd from that race, they were just pretty much going to quit. But when I told them the time penalty, it's definitely a difference of emotion. I think they're probably doing the math in their head too, in terms of how that impacted them. But I think they were pleasantly okay with, and maybe I don't want to speak for them, but I think that, if I'm them, I'm taking the time penalty over disqualification from that event.
The two events today were Deka Strong and the Ruta Mountain Biking. Deka Strong is a 10-zone functional fitness workout competition. We got to see Corinna Coffin and Sam Briggs go at it. They both competed at the CrossFit Games. Sam was a 2013 world champion. They both looked extremely strong.
Beast. I mean, every athlete there was strong, and the women had a serious contingent of like CrossFit type. I call it CrossFit type, right? These functional athletes with the group there. So it was, they had quite the showing. Not just those two, but all of them.
Yesterday on the tug of war, it was a random draw for who competed against each other. For Deka Strong, there's no way Atkins versus Hunter was randomly decided. No, we picked that. Yeah, that was clearly picked because it didn't matter. I mean, one could argue the dynamics, whatever, but we picked the matchups because based on like the types of athletes, even right, even as well as what's good for TV is where they are in the rankings. So it didn't matter. It's not like they were jockeying for position, sharing equipment. They just went at it. Hopefully, it helped them because they knew that was like their competition across from them. One thing I saw when there was kind of a montage of different athletes after the initial two races, there were a montage of athletes working out. The camera lingered on Hunter next to Aaron when Aaron was doing his assault bike. It's hard to tell what Hunter was thinking in that 1 second, 2 second shot. Is there a way to tell if the animosity between them is genuine, or is some of it for the cameras and the media? I remember that clip. I watched it. It was both Hunter and Atkins watching Aaron. My guess is that was a specific element where you had to get to a certain calorie amount and then be done. One could speculate why they're watching, right? So, but I think the friction is real. I don't think there's anything here. And again, I don't want to speak for those guys. So this is my third party perspective. There's nothing manufactured coming into going like that happened on site. Like it was all, for me, at least in what I saw, it was all real. So what they're like outside of competition, like there's plenty of people that hate each other on the field, but when they get, I used to play rugby and we would like try to rip each other's heads off during a game, but after the match, you'd go and drink a beer and you're best buds. Mike Wardian is an ultra runner, not a CrossFit specialist. We saw him gutting it out, finishing every rep with a crowd around him cheering. 11th and 12th place in each event is awarded 0 points, but it looks like on both sides, everyone gutted it out and finished the full 10 workout zones. Yes, and I'll tell you what, that was the theme I saw the entire 4 days of like, there's this level of pride as an athlete that went into it, even knowing that you're going to get maybe 0 points. And you'll see it. I don't know. I haven't seen the cut yet for wrestling, but there's definitely matchups where you're like, you might want to take a knee, like, right. Like let's look at this matchup. And we were clear, like you can take a knee, you can step in the ring and we say, go, you can take a knee and say, I'm out. And like, you just lose that match. Right. You don't have to like go to war and then get pinned and or whatever happens, right? And there's a lot of it happened, right? But there's definitely certain athletes that didn't do that, and they're like, no, I'm going for it. And you kind of saw that with different athletes the entire time, whether it was the
the strength athletes doing the endurance stuff, or vice versa. Those are the endurance athletes doing the strength stuff. Like you'll see in Deka Heavy, which is on the final day, like some really, really impressive stuff. They'd be like, you can skip that. You can skip that if you want, but they're like, no, I'm going for it. So yeah, it was a good theme. It was a good theme across the board about like people just still going for it. This idea of like, I'm going to get it done no matter what. Pride.
Top 3 women in Deka Strong were Sam Briggs, Corinna Coffin, and Faith Cook. Corinna placed second in the Spartan Cross and Deka Strong, 2 pretty opposite events on the skill tree.
Yes. I mean, opposite. Yeah, I guess you're right. Very much. That Deka Strong is certainly takes into consideration some anaerobic capacity, but you're not pushing a lot of weight. You're just at like high intensity for 15 minutes. So that intensity level is similar to cross. You're just not running, right? So she's got an engine, right? She can use that engine. How she uses an engine, she's using it, and then she can bring in a little bit of running for the cross because only 5K with a lot of obstacles, and then obviously Deka was a lot more functional with no running, but they're not polar. I'm not going to say they're polar opposites there, but there's a little bit of an overlap there, but they're definitely different.
The top 3 men in Deka Strong were Hunter, Herman Demick, and Ryan Kent. No surprise to see Hunter up there, but how about Herman Demick? Yeah,
I mean, you heard the commentary from Lindsay, I think it was, in the show about Herman, and he was a late ad. Compliments of Yancey, pretty sure it was, but yeah, the dude was a monster there. So it's and in the swim too. I don't know if you remember in the swim, he was top 3 in the swim, and so he's maybe there's something to be said about like there's a lot of athletes out there that just are fit and aren't necessarily in the limelight, but maybe they should be.
The second event of the day was the Ruta Mountain Biking. More than the other events, this one seemed to make a lot of the athletes uncomfortable and even visibly stressed out. Tell me about pushing those athletes out of there.
Man, that was a theme it's worth hitting on. And there's the intro of the first episode where Joe says, what if you take the best athletes in the world that are specialists and take them out of their comfort zone? And that's what we did pretty much the entire time. And day 1, you saw a little bit of it with like the Highland Games, but you really started to see it in the swim, right? But it was only 45 minutes. But you really started to see it with the Ruta. And what you don't see is the dynamic. They shot a little bit, right? I announced the events for the next day, wrestling and the running, and you saw like a couple reactions from athletes, but you didn't see the hour reactions from athletes, like the debating and telling me how they're going to do it differently. And the first night, I was like, man, this is madness. Is this how this? Like, am I going to yell at by athletes the whole time? Like, this is emotionally draining. But then I realized, like, okay, this is what pretty much every night's going to be, and you just come to expect it. But it's because you got the best athletes in the world that are specialists at what they do, and you're telling them they're going to be a novice the next day and like figure it out. And so yeah, and that's inevitably people are fighting for money. They're fighting to do well and not go into it and look bad or get hurt or not perform, right? So yeah, there's a level because it's mountain biking, and for a lot of those athletes, the first time they're mountain bike, like we're out renting mountain bikes, like I mentioned the other day, and so they're uncomfortable.
Were the men and women on the course at the same time?
Yes, the men started about 10 minutes before the women, just to give them a kind of head start. We wanted to clear the trail, give them a head start up the mountain.
There was a lot of discussion over the definition of technical versus non-technical trails. What did the athletes think of the trails? It's
a bit of kind of a running joke, but also a bit of a pain point, a bit of a scar tissue there, for better or for worse, right? When we told the athletes, and there's a game of telephone here, we told them rolling non-technical. And so, and I'll own it, right? Probably somewhere along the way, I was like, oh no, it's rolling non-technical, right? But I think, and Ryan Atkins put it well. And there's you can access a quick podcast, myself, Joe, David Watson, Ryan, that we did with Spartan. Ryan puts it in perspective. Like he says it was greens and blues, right? And when I say non-technical, as a Northeast mountain biker who is used to like Vermont single track, which is probably some of those technical riding you can get in like the world, right? Like when I say non-technical, I mean flowy switchbacks. Like I'm not hucking cliffs. Like I don't need like a full enduro bike. I can ride it on my hardtail and ride fast. So when I say non-technical, so definitely what I missed the mark on was clarifying what that really meant, right? It was a green and a blue ranked in the Northeast, which probably means if you're from the West Coast or you're from an area where there's no rocks or roots, it's going to be like, whoa. And there's elevation. Like you're not coming like Jared's from Florida. It's flat. There's no hills, right? So it's definitely very relative. And I think to put it in perspective, it's like if we had, and by the way, remember half those folks never ridden a mountain bike. So take someone who's never skied before and say, hey, we're going to go ski a blue at a ski resort. They're probably going to crash, right? And they're going to be like, whoa, some of this is steep. Now, I think to support my cause, like they all got through it and like, it wasn't like anyone was like getting like major crashes because of the terrain. So the fact that there were brand new athletes never ridden a mountain bike that did complete the full course, like I think we chose it right. I think clearly there's a miscommunication in terms of how to define what that meant, but I definitely got a little heat for it, and I'll throw a post up on social media that I'll kind of rib the folks just to when I try to like defend my case. But I get it. I messed up in terms of how to define it.
Max Fennell had some words to share about the mountain biking. It looked like he was Hunter Aaron level mad.
Oh man, I'm sitting down below and I get this call on the net on the radio, and like, hey Morris, heads up, Max pretty pissed. I'm like, why? He goes, oh, you'll see. And then Max comes screaming in. I'm just standing there. I'm like, what's up? He's like, and he's just pissed. And he's like, and prior to the race, like I think we even like the bike he bought didn't fit. He borrowed it. So we actually gave him one of the rentals. We got some extra rentals as backup bikes. So we gave him a pretty sweet bike, gave him that, put on his pedals for him. And he was going to wear his arrow. And I'm going to upset a lot of triathletes. This is like classic triathlete move. Like he's going to wear his arrow helmet. Like on the way. I'm like, dude, you don't need to wear an arrow helmet. You're in the woods. And then like, you try to get out every ounce of wind resistance. And then, and he had what I didn't see is he had his road pedals on. I would have talked him out of that, but he has his sweet like road pedals, and he goes out. And so, I mean, if you don't mountain bike this terrain a lot, you're going to be off your bike a lot walking to a couple technical sections. And if you're on your road pedals, man, it's hard walking on road pedals on like pavement, let alone like rocks, dirt. And so he was pretty pissed that he had his road shoes on. So, dude, Max is an awesome guy, right? Great attitude. I get it. Heat of the moment. He's pissed. We did a bad job managing expectations. I'd argue maybe it was not the best pedal selection. Like even if it was like flat dirt roads, like I don't think I wear road shoes. I'd still wear mountain bike pedals. I wear mountain bike shoes and pedals. So we could argue that, but great attitude. He got it together. We let him go back, ride down, get his sneakers out from the cabin, come back up. We changed out his pedals to platforms, and he lived happily ever after, and he was awesome.
Grant McCartney said he had multiple crashes. Looked like he actually cracked his helmet. He was pulled away by the medics at the end. Where did he end up health-wise?
Health-wise, he was okay. I mean, we a little nerve-wracking. He came down and he beat Hunter in like the last descent. And for those of you who don't know, it was like he basically climbed up Joe's Mountain with switchbacks, and then it was just like epic 4-mile descent of like basically straight out and then straight back with like one turn. Like it was awesome. It was so like, and I think it was where it got probably scary for certain people. Someone Atkins was saying like, in order to win, you had to go as fast as you could, and to go as fast as you could on a descent like that, you're going really fast, right? It wasn't like everyone was braking. It wasn't like him and Josiah were braking on these sketchy descents. It was just like a gradual descent where you could just let the pedals, let the bike go. So that's where it got scary for folks going really fast. But I just got sidetracked. Oh, so he came bombing down the mountain and beat Hunter. I think he passed him, and then on the way, I think his motto full send. He went over the handlebars a couple times, and one time hit a tree, and like his helmet was legit cracked. Like it was one of those like my kid had come back from a ride. I'd be like, we should probably go get that X-rayed, right? And but they did all the assessments on him, and he was fine.
The top 3 men in mountain biking were Ryan Atkins, Josiah Middow, and Aaron Newell. Josiah Middow is a world champion mountain biker. How did Ryan Atkins beat him?
I don't think most people realize that. So is Ryan. Ryan has won World Cup level, I think 24-hour events mountain biking. He used to race at the World Cup level. So, so I think you get this like merging. Like neither of them are specialists, right? You're not getting a guy. Josiah does triathlons, right? And And I, look, I don't think either of them, since they all learned about short notice, it's not like they spent like the last 4 months specializing in mountain biking. That might change things too, but they're both like, maybe call them generalists, if you will, and like really high level generalists when it comes to endurance sports, but they do a little bit of everything. And one of those things that Ryan still does is still mountain bike. You see him trains on the bike all the time. He puts in epic days, he rides across Canada. So he's still got his bike engine. It's a great cross training tool, and he's been on his bike. He's been on his bike a lot all year, just following him Strava. And Josiah, obviously good at swim, bike, run. So it shaped up to be a great battle. I actually expected that. I didn't expect either of them to walk away with it. I expected a close battle between the two.
The top 3 mountain biking women were Lindsay Webster, Rhea Coble, and Chelsea Magnus. It was nice to see the adventure racer, Chelsea Magnus, and ultra world champ, Rhea Coble, finally get some good points. Yeah. I mean, all three of my favorite girls ever. I mean, all the girls are awesome, but just awesome attitudes. Chelsea, adventure racer. It's funny that the roots of Spartan are with adventure racing. That's how all the original group met Joe, was we all raced with them in adventure racing. And so she's raced in Chile, in Patagonia, like 5 times, 6 times. Her team was actually down in for Eco Challenge down the Amazon show. It was Ben racing, but she wasn't there. But that was her team. So really experienced, great athlete to see her. It was great to see her on the top 3. And then Rhea found her groove. She got happier as the race went on. So by hour 4, she was like all smiles. And then Lindsay obviously spends a lot of time on the bike as well, and really fast. Lindsay and Ryan together in first place is something we've seen a lot over the years. Yeah, I want to see what happens when they have offspring. Like what those kids are going to be like. But yeah, they're a powerhouse. I enjoyed seeing the ceremony, or whatever you call it, at the Body Armor Lounge at the end of the day. Tell me about what happened at the end of each day's competition. Yeah, and so and kudos to my team for like facilitating this. Like they killed it. Every night we had dinner, and we had to do our best to appease the athletes with their requests. And so we'd set a window, athletes show up, we'd eat, and then we'd go through the results of the day, as well as the change in standings, leaderboard, and then we explain the next day's events. Like I said, it wasn't as simple as like, hey, here's what you're doing tomorrow, pack it up and leave. It was, hey, here's what you're doing tomorrow. Cue very exciting dialogue for the next hour, and then we go home. And it's funny. I told people, like, I've been a Spartan a long time and dealt with a lot of like physically and mentally taxing things, whether it's all nighters and stuff. Right. This was like emotionally taxing, just being trying to work with the athletes. And I get it, right? There's 24 athletes in this tight of a setting. It was a tough environment. We got our first look at the leader bibs. What can you tell me about the leader bibs for the Spartan Games? I guess I don't understand the question. What do you want to know about them? Are they worth anything? Is it just so that everyone else knows, hey, that guy's in charge? It's just kind of a cool little bonus for the point leaders? Yeah, a little ceremonial turning over the leader jersey. Harley Davidson, too. It's on there. I'll give a shout out to them. Did a great job helping us with the event. So, I think that's special, except for just cool, tight-fitting, tank top people put on. There were some small but noticeable changes in the new episode's production. The scores for each individual episode or each individual event were shown instead of viewers having to kind of do the math in reverse. Also, the F-bombs were bleeped this week. The show became a little more family-friendly. Were those changes based on feedback? Was it an internal decision? Yeah, I mean, it was both. We, and I'll take the time to give a shout out to the production team. We have an internal team, an external team. I found out, this is a little known fact, for every minute of film that is produced, it typically takes a day of editing. So I didn't know that. And so if you think about it, between the 4 weeks, there's going to be 160 minutes of film. That's 160 days of editing. We finished this thing like mid-October. So we're talking about 40 days at most to edit 160 minutes of film. So there's that's 4x. That's the accelerated time by 4, right? So let's set the stage there, right? So
there was probably 50,000 more things we'd want to do for episode 1, but we just ran out of time. And it's no one's fault except we want to get this thing out. Like, the people are chomping for it. And so a lot of the stuff that was identified in episode 1 from the customers was just reaffirmed the stuff we knew. And then so going into episode 2, the team was awesome, made the changes, and it was for the better, right? It was like you said, the feedback, reaffirmed the change we made based on the feedback we got, both internal and external.
We got our first look at some of your Spartan HQ team, guys like Jared Cogswell, Nathan Rackett, Gary Bellinger, and Yancey Culp. What do those guys bring to Spartan?
I mean, everyone at Spartan's awesome. I think it's one of the best parts about the organization and the people that we work with. Jared and Yancey, they work specifically at Deka. Yancey's obviously been involved with Spartan for a long time. He's been an elite athlete for us, and then just through his coaching and work with his athletes, always been kind of indirectly involved. So this is the first time we really brought him in more into the fold to help with Deka. And so him and Jared's been a key figure helping grow the business and help with the programming and scale that. So they're focused on Deka. They're traveling around the country, getting people excited about it, doing a great job. And then Nate and Gary, both on product teams. Gary's been around for a long time as a racer, right? He was one of those folks that just raced for a while, and it's amazing. It's amazing how much information we learn from folks like Gary that have not only worked for us, but been like raving fans and customers for a long time, right? And the insight there. I think it's really important for any organization is to have the folks that work for you that know the product really well. And so he's on our product team that's led by David Watson. And so it works on support, customer service, all the metrics to support, our decision making around how we change the product. And same with Nate. Nate's heavily involved managing the pro team. He's kind of the point of contact for that. So that's not an easy task. You can imagine that, dealing with a bunch of athletes on a regular basis. And then obviously on the sports side, and that's also like things like medals and shirts, collateral, like designing those things. That whole team works on that and supports the customer experience product side. So by the way, sorry. I mean, we saw they got to speak, but I do want to shout out like there's a lot of folks there working, whether it's folks timing the event, whether it's the folks that work for me, producing the event and like building the obstacles for the week prior and sticking around after, regardless of the weather. I mean, there was one day it was like 38 degrees and like blowing rain, and like we were up and down the mountain all day. Like it was cold and miserable, but that's just working in the event space. So my team's out there killing it.
So at the end of day 2, our leaders are Ryan Atkins with Hunter close behind and Corinna Coffin with Lindsay Webster close behind. What can we look forward to on day 3?
I mean, what's coming. You've got the wrestling, which is going to be, as you expect, dynamic. A lot of nerves going into that. Like I was nervous going into that, right? It was funny. They were like, I was like talking to the Andy. So Andy Horvat, what they showed him in the film, like he was an Olympic wrestler for the U.S. and he coached like the U.S. team. He coached like the Slovakian team, or this like he's coached around the world. And now he lives in Vermont on the farm. And just like helps coach like wrestling up there, and super awesome guy. And he helped develop the product, right? So when we came at this as like we want to do something that involves wrestling, we knew we couldn't do real wrestling because there's so many rules and no one would get it. So he was like, "Look, this is something we do all the time." He's like, "I do this with kids. I do this with adults. It's really dynamic. It's really fun. It's gonna get hurt. Like it's not designed to like body slam people, right? And you'll see it's just there's a modification, right, in terms of how the rules are." Which makes it really dynamic and fun. And so having him was a game changer, right? He added a lot of like validity to what we're doing. It wasn't me out there who's never wrestled trying to like enforce the rules. Like he was the official. He was really good at it. He's done this for a living, like at the Olympic level. So you guaranteed it was good. And he brought that to the table. So that was really exciting and dynamic. But I was worried that he's like, I might need you to demonstrate. I was like, really? And he's like, you're gonna have to wrestle one of your staff members. And like one of the guys there, this guy Matt Barber, like he's been like he was an MMA fighter, like bouncer, like he's like, I'll wrestle you, and I'm like, oh sure you will. Right? So they were chomping at the bit to get in the ring, and beat up their boss.
And then after wrestling is Deka Strong. Is that right?
No, after wrestling is the 6-hour ultra.
We have ultra runners in the field. I wonder if 6 hours is enough time for them to win, to beat the generalists, like guys like guys like Ryan Atkins, like we have ultra runners that run for 200 miles, but is 6 hours enough for them?
We'll see. But I think that's the magic in all of this is how do you program these events? So if you're going to find the fittest person in the world, how do you program the events? Because I don't know, is the fittest person in the world? Is the fittest person in the world a generalist that's like really good at like the middle 80% of all these events? Like clearly running 200 miles is going to be a lot harder for someone than say 50, obviously, right? But 50, if you can run 50 fast, that's still way above average, top 2%, right? So is it okay to maybe test people at 50 miles, or do we need to go to 200 miles? But then you're looking at like the real extreme outliers of athletes. And so how do you program these events to really test and determine who the fittest person in the world is?
The episode ends with a quick plug to get behind the scenes content. While people are waiting for episode 3, how can they get more of the Spartan Games?
Yeah, we're going to start dripping some stuff, whether it's outtakes, these podcasts, onto the membership. So we have a membership account. It's free. You can get on and log in. It's where all your results are going to be kept. You can, if you want to pay extra, you can get access to the training app. You can get access to on-site perks, as well as a lot of other stuff, other valuable perks you get as a member, paying member. And that beta actually launched yesterday for the paid version for our pass holders. And so it's a great deal for what you get. But if you just want to get on, and you can sign up for free for the membership, create an account, and then you get access to these other sort of drips of exciting stuff. And I don't know how much we put on there yet. And sorry, I don't know. But for example, the interview we did yesterday with myself, Atkins, and Joe, and Dave Watson is on there to watch.
I had a couple of listeners reach out to me with some questions. Scott Nowles asks, if you did it all again, what would you do different?
If I did it all again different, I'd give us more time to recruit, I'd give not just us, but like the athletes, right? Again, we had in like the matter of 6 weeks, we recruited 24 of the best athletes in the world, and like the testament to the team for doing that, and the athletes for coming out. So it'd be cool to give the athletes more time so they could prepare. And they knew like the big things they're doing. Like they knew they were going to swim. They knew they were going to mountain bike. I'm sure knowing that they're going to mountain bike, they probably would have gotten on their mountain bike before showing up, right? And again, a lot of them never did because they had such short fuse. So definitely spend more time letting athletes know what's happening, like give them more time just to recruit. And what else would I do? Probably have more. What I've learned, like you really need to manage expectations of the athletes, like be crystal clear. And this is the story of life, right? But the difference between managing 5,000 racers and even just the elite heat, right? You cover your bases, you're good. For this though, like every single detail nuance counts, like way beyond what we see at any of our, like even the 24-hour championships we do in Sweden and Iceland. So I definitely would put more emphasis onto the details and the communication of those things with the athletes.
Scott also asks, will we see a season 2 of Spartan Games?
We're open to. I don't see, we'd be silly not to, I think. But there's a lot up in the air about 2021. Our core events, what those are going to shape up to look like. As of right now, they're happening, obviously, because they're on the schedule. But, what does the product look like in the face of COVID? And then given that, what are the other business priorities that we want to focus on?
Mac Armstrong asks, Hunter said Atkins had the tools to fix his bike, but Hunter didn't. Was that something Atkins just knew he needed and provided himself?
Yeah, and Hunter calls it out. It's like the difference between a professional and amateur. Atkins, who's raced at the World Cup level, and anyone who races mountain bikes, like you prepare for those things that happen. Like your train breaks, you get a flat tire, you need to tighten a spoke, whatever it might be. So you typically carry just your baseline little toolkit. And what he was referring to is Atkins had a quick link for his chain. And so when a chain breaks, they have like these, it's like opposing male female links that like clip together, and they're slotted so you can like open and close them. And so the quick way to fix a broken chain is that, as opposed to taking out a chain break tool and like screwing the pin out lining thing back up and like forcing it back in. So he just had that thing taped to a stem, ready to go. Just quick. It's impressive.
We talked about the body armor lounge. Everyone was hanging out in at the end of the day, rehydrating themselves. What other partners helped with the production of the Spartan Games?
Oh, we had Athletic Brewing. We had Honey Stinger. We had a protein shake company called like Now, I think it is, vegan. And I typically don't eat meat, so I was excited for that. I drink a lot of that. And then we had obviously Harley Davidson supported the event at a big level, so they've been a great partner. Xterra Wetsuits came in for the swim in episode 1. Who am I missing? I'm forgetting someone. Body Armor, as you mentioned. Oh, man. Next time we have this, I'm going to come better prepared. But I think I got a lot of them.
Mike, any last thoughts about day 2?
It was good. Like I got personally really excited about the mountain biking. I think you saw that in the film. Like, love those trails. Like I got up there. I was like, I'll pre-ride the course, and like went out and for one of the days was out there helped set the course just because I love riding it. And if you can get on Strava and you can see a lot of the how they've been races up there, and there's a lot of like fast folks that race that. So now that it's aired, I wonder if Atkins and Josiah are going to upload their Strava accounts, because I think when like that night, not realizing it, like there was a couple of Strava accounts that got loaded up on, and you could see the route they did, and so we quickly caught it. We're like, no, take that down. So I'm curious now if they're going to post it up, and so we can see if they got any KOMs and stuff. Because we've done some like Norba style mountain bike races up there.
You can watch the Spartan Games on Spartan's YouTube channel. New episodes of the show go live on Wednesdays. Mike Morris, thanks much.
Thanks for having me, Will, and thank you for everyone listening.
Special thanks to Mike Morris. Well done, Mike. If you'd like to ask Mike a question about these Spartan Games, text it to 619-485-2726. Text me right now, and I will remind you before I talk with Mike next week. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. I will talk with you soon. Go spend time with someone you love.